Okay. Hi, guys. We are Team Vital. I'm Emma. I'm a nursing major.
Jackie, public policy.
Caesar, biology.
Adam, engineering. Will, writing and rhetoric.
And that's just our definition of disaster again.
Okay, so as you guys know, we have a huge problem. We've been trying to work it down since week 1, and this is what we now have. Our operatives cannot locate people, obtain information about the status of critical infrastructure and supplies needed, and coordinate their responses effectively during disasters. As a result, information, time, and resources are wasted and human lives are lost. This week we also started customer profiles. We're trying to better understand all of our potential users.
This is just our comic for this week. It just shows you what exactly our app would do. We're going to go more into that and show you a live example at the end.
Okay, so for the aha moments, they're all there. You can see them for the first one. So I looked at a lot of apps that I almost laughed out loud because they don't really do anything. I downloaded Red Cross, tornado, hurricane, earthquake, and all the apps do is alert people that there's an earthquake. And it's like, okay, sweet, we already knew that. But what we want our product to do is be able to give victims an actual voice so they can interact with those first responders. And then another big problem that was brought up was, well, what if people don't have the app downloaded, which was one of our other takeaways was it would give you the capability to have that information offline stored on your phone in case service went down. And then I talked to the Chief Intelligence Officer of National Defense University who deals with companies like Sprint in terms of their disaster response. And he said one of the biggest hurdles, he actually said the biggest hurdle is when they have the technology implementing it. And normally when a new technology comes out, it takes a little bit for them to buy into it. Even if it's effective, they just don't want to change. That's good for that.
All right, so for this week, we completely went a different direction with our hypotheses. We did each NGO, government agency, has their own method of communications during disasters. Our result was validated. Everyone has their own stubborn ways that they want to stick to, but we plan to make a uniform platform for all of them to be able to talk to each other, whether they want to or not. The second one was the operatives have difficulty locating people. By using the similar ideas of apps that we all use, like Waze and Uber, our solution will be able to use crowdsourcing and mapping overlays to be able to find people and find each other more effective. And that is also a third hypothesis.
So we reworked our value proposition pretty considerably from the last time you saw it. We added quite a lot. We went through it. We took out a few things, changed a few more. But the main thing is we came up with a lot more, especially in customer jobs, because there's a lot of different things that different people are going to be doing during disaster relief. And we came up with a lot of different pains for those jobs. And we came up with a bunch of new pain relievers and gain creators as a result for all the new things that we're considering during the entire process down the line of disaster relief.
We're also going to find a better way to present this because obviously there's so much information on it and the font is so small that it's hard to read. So we're still brainstorming on different ways to present this information. Next we have our mission model canvas, which we actually went through with our mentor for a considerable amount of time on Sunday, and we tried to really keep everything within the same concept. So we have all of our key partners, and we separated them out into the various categories that they belong in, and yeah. So for our value proposition, basically we decided that there are kind of 3 apps that we're trying to work our solution around and kind of try to incorporate different aspects of it into our solution. So that's Uber, so then you can get your fastest first responder, the closest person to you will have your information. Waze, as far as the crowdsourcing aspect, because you can't know what's wrong with every single person just naturally. Someone has to tell you. And then Pokemon Go to kind of the concept of, oh, if I am following, or if my goal is to go over here, it kind of pushes people to go somewhere else. It's
yeah, like if there was a flood, you know how there's gyms in Pokemon Go, for those of you who know that, let's say there's a flood, someone could say, hey, I found this gymnasium that happens to have the highest, ceiling of all the buildings in the area. You can post that, people can see it.
And then people can flock to the safety of that gymnasium for that, yeah.
We just kind of we're trying to find better ways to present our information, so we're still kind of working on that. But none of the information has changed for our archetypes or our customer workflow.
Okay, and actually, this is I'm going to show you guys a live example of an app, like a really rough app, thing of our app. Okay, so just give me 1 second to pull it up. Okay, so this is basically what it's going to look like on your iPhone, I guess, or Android. You're going to have all these little icons, and these little people are basically, so if you click on them, we want them. This is just going to tell you a key right now of what everything means, but ideally, if you click on the person, it's going to tell you how many people are there, what's the emergency, and any other relevant information. If you click on the ambulance, it's going to tell you what's their ETA, how far, where they're going currently, and also has these 4 options down here. You can go to nearest. It'll locate the nearest shelter, food and water, or hospital. You can also report a disaster. That's crowdsourcing where that comes in, where you can report a small fire, structure damage, people you know are trapped, people you know need water, power outages, anything like that. So we're going to try to make this a little bit more refined, but this is the rough draft of what our app is going to look like, just to give you guys a better idea of it. Okay, and that's it.
1, 2, 3.
How were we on time? Was there a lot left or not really?
You had 1 minute and 30 seconds left.
Okay.
Well,
yeah, we were rushing through the first to make sure we got like the.
well, I would just say the biggest hole is going to be like people are going to say, well, what if you don't have the app downloaded already? So that's obviously something we need to address. This still gives. It's not just the victim that has to have the app. I mean, the first responders can still benefit from it, just like in ways the police and the users benefit from it. And also, each phone has an E911 code that tells you when it was last offline. So we're going to also try to implement that into the solution. Basically, if there's a disaster in the area, there's a family member that you haven't heard from in 2 hours. Let's say your family member lives in LA. You text them because you know there's an earthquake. You haven't heard from them, then they've been offline for 2 hours. Then you could use the app.
Yeah, and just to touch on his thing about downloading, the downloads coming with it. It's not going to be anything really complicated. So it's going to be basic survival tips, because obviously we can't download like a 1 gigabyte file onto your phone, because you'll notice. It's going to be small files that you can access when things are offline, like what to do in a fire, what to do in case you don't have food or water, stuff like that. Just small things that can help you survive until first responders arrive.
And something to add, like, if we get this out there and tell first responders about it, like, I think they'll download it. But right now, during disasters and, like, big events, like, people go on Facebook and check in, and that's a huge, like, mapping technology that, like, we might be able to get that information and work with them somehow. Because, like, everyone has Facebook on their phones already, so.
We'll just end there.
Let's start your feedback. Yeah, good job. Go ahead.
So with this before, by saying like a smartphone, more entirely focused on your customer segment being like in developed countries?
Yeah, we're sticking with the federal
Yes.
U.S.
So
government.
like we said, we can't solve every problem, and we have to narrow our focus. So we're basically sticking to scenarios where you have service and you have a smartphone, and you're in the U.S.
And there are ways to provide cell service. There's things called sat cows. I'm sure you know coming from your background. So.
But we also thought it through. I mean, and wherever you go, there's always going to be someone with a smartphone. So, and hopefully someone will have this app, and you will be able to report things that you know are happening around you.
A bit of feedback on that. Have you thought about going down the path of how do pre-installed apps get on systems? Right, and
Like the ones that just come with like your iPhone and stuff.
Like the medical ID in an iPhone, is that what you're like kind of referring to?
Last U2 album that got downloaded
Yeah.
everybody's iTunes. And everybody loved it. And then people the world over were like vilified because of the album. But that's exactly the kind of technology that you're looking to shovel this kind of app onto people's phones. Really.
Yeah. I mean, the problem I see with that is just, I mean, I don't know about everybody else, but I usually just throw all that crap in one folder and don't ever look at it again.
Until it starts making
Yeah, but it's better than not having it there.
Sure. But if they make the conscious decision of downloading it, maybe they'll use it more. We're just gonna, we have to.
But you don't want them to use it until there's an emergency, so it doesn't really matter.
That's also true. Maybe it can turn off that on.
It's definitely something that we have thought about.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah.
Can you flip back, flip back your slide to, so, Keep going. Keep on more. So here, on your value proposition canvas, you said we added a lot. What were two of the things that you added that you think were most relevant to your movement this week? Okay.
So just two, because we completely did the whole thing
Locate
over.
victims.
So write it down in a card
Put 'em in a
and hold
card.
it up and see if you all
I
have the
think we
same
did.
thing.
A little bit of a rhetorical question. I think what I'm trying to say is that I'd like to see some of that movement illustrated a little bit more clearly for me. Connect the dots for us because we weren't with you there, right? Seems like you did a lot of work to get to where you were going. Let's make it clear for us what you did.
So do you mean put less or just put it different, like organize it in an entirely different section?
It's highlighted in your presentation.
Okay, gotcha.
Piggybacking on that, we can't see that, and no
Yeah.
one's reading that, right? So just even like, just pulling out.
But to be fair, we told them to put more on it.
Yeah, like that's why I'm,
So you know how you can,
Like a Prezi.
just like blow it up, like here, right here, this says, just highlight it. Okay, these are the two main things. Here's our number one game, here's our number one game creator, here's our number one pain, here's our number one team member.
You have to jump
I think she had a question.
That's what I was just gonna suggest, like, I think you should go through it and find, like, the similarities or the differences, like, point them out, like what we did last week, like, we found the greatest pain, and that helped us move forward with what our problem is. I think that would help you guys a lot, too.
One more thing on your mission model canvas, could you go back to that quickly? I just want to point out, value propositions are not, solutions. All right, they're what are you doing to solve the pains in the game? All right, and I like the Uber ways in Pokemon Go. Those are good MVP like ways to describe them. But in your value proposition, you really need to focus on what are you giving to the beneficiaries? How do those values tie back to the beneficiaries?
We might need that explained better later, but.
Okay, yeah.
One, two,
Really quick here.
oh, sorry.
Yeah, you guys talk to Team Rubicon?
Not yet.
We contacted them, didn't hear anything back.
Yeah.
I'll talk to the Senior Vice President.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I think he had a question.
I was gonna say, you could use, when people are checking into social media, you could use people that are family members and friends that are kind of like, in like ways that are more kind of able to report. You create like almost like a way where they could submit like, hey, I just saw this video or link.
right.
And kind of allow first responders to check in on that website.
Right.
Instead of having to comb through Twitter. Allow people that are like friends and family
Yeah.
members.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so this is all we're.
And we also found out that false information is actually not that big of an issue in terms of people reporting that. It ends up being like less than 1% of the time.
People exaggerate.
We're done. We're done.
Now we